The twin suns burned above the alien city, casting long shadows across the massive arena. The ground was made of pale red sand, stained darker in places where battles had been fought before. Thousands of alien spectators filled the high stone seats, their voices mixing into a deafening roar. Some had shimmering scales, some had long insect-like limbs, and some had eyes that glowed in the sunlight. They were all here for one reason: to see the human prisoner meet his end. In the very center of the arena stood Marcus, a man with messy dark hair. Wearing torn clothes and a pair of metal cuffs on his wrists, he looked small compared to the towering alien guards around him. Yet his back was straight and his eyes were steady. The crowd expected fear, shaking knees, maybe begging for mercy. But Marcus simply stood there, silent. The heavy gates at the far end of the arena began to open with a grinding sound. Out stepped a tall alien noblewoman, her armor made of black plates that gleamed like obsidian. She moved with the confidence of someone who ruled here. Beside her, straining against a chain of thick metal links, 'twas a creature unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. It had 4 legs ending in clawed paws, a body covered in dark fur, and a long tail tipped with a bony spike. Its head was wolf-like, but its mouth was too wide, its teeth too many. When it roared, the air seemed to vibrate. The crowd went wild. Shouting in their alien language, the noblewoman smiled as she looked at Marcus. Her sharp teeth flashing in the light, she raised her voice so that it carried to every corner of the arena. "Why aren't you trembling, human? One word from me, and my pet will devour you." Her words echoed, and the beast growled low. Pulling against its chain, Marcus didn't answer right away. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, studying the creature. Its golden eyes were locked on him, unblinking. Most people would look away, but Marcus didn't. The noblewoman frowned, unused to her prey, staying calm. "Do you not understand?" she said, her tone sharper now. "I can end you with a single command." The crowd cheered again, eager to see blood. Marcus finally spoke, his voice quiet but clear. "Maybe, but not today." The crowd hissed in confusion. They're alien, tongues clicking and buzzing. Some laughed, thinking it was bravado. But the noblewoman's eyes narrowed. She took a step closer, the beast following, its claws sinking into the sand. "You think this is a game?" she said. Marcus smiled faintly. "I think your beast and I have something in common." The noblewoman tilted her head, curious despite herself. The beast let out a low growl. But it wasn't the same as before. There was something in it. Hesitation. Marcus slowly lifted his hands, palms open to show he had no weapon. The crowd went silent, sensing something unusual. He took one slow step forward, then another. The guards tightened their grips on their spears, ready to strike. But the beast didn't leap, didn't snap. It sniffed the air instead, its ears twitching. The noblewoman's frown deepened. She gave a sharp tug on the chain, and the beast jerked, but only slightly. Its gaze stayed fixed on Marcus. Marcus crouched a little, his eyes never leaving the creature's. "I've seen eyes like yours before," he said softly. "Long ago. Before your masters took them." The noblewoman stiffened, as if his words touched some hidden truth. The crowd murmured louder now, sensing tension. Marcus reached into the torn pocket of his pants. Every guard around him moved instantly, spears raised, but he only pulled out a small metallic cube, no larger than his fist. It glowed faintly with a soft blue light. The beast froze, its ears standing up straight. The noblewoman's eyes widened. "Where did you get that?" she demanded. Marcus just smiled, holding the cube low so the beast could see it. The creature let out a sound that was almost a whine. It took a slow step toward him, then another. The chain rattled as it reached the end of its length. Marcus extended his hand, the cube resting in his palm. The noblewoman shouted in her language, but the beast ignored her. The crowd gasped. No creature had ever disobeyed her before. The beast sniffed the cube, then looked up at Marcus. In that moment, the tension in the air changed. The arena felt quieter, heavier. Marcus spoke again. Just one word, but it wasn't in any human language. The sound was strange, deep, and almost musical. The beast's eyes widened, and then it sat down in front of him. The noblewoman's jaw tightened, her pride clearly wounded. The crowd erupted into chaos, half shouting in excitement, half in disbelief. Marcus stood tall again, the beast now calmly at his side. The noblewoman took a slow step forward. Her eyes locked on his. "Who are you, human?" she asked, but this time her voice was not as steady as before. Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he reached down and rested his hand on the beast's head. The crowd fell silent, knowing they had just witnessed something that might change everything. The arena was filled with noise, but inside Marcus's mind there was only silence. The beast's golden eyes were still locked on him, its chest rising and falling slowly. The noblewoman's lips curled in anger, her sharp teeth flashing in the alien sunlight. No one had ever made her pet hesitate before. She lifted her chin and gave a sharp command in her language, the kind that had made entire armies stop breathing. The beast's ears twitched at the sound, its muscles tensing. The crowd leaned forward, expecting a violent leap, but the beast did not move. Instead, it made a deep, throaty sound, a rumble, that carried more confusion than aggression. Marcus didn't flinch, his hand still resting lightly on the creature's head. It was as if the command had been swallowed by the air. The noblewoman's eyes narrowed into slits. "Obey me," she shouted again, her voice echoing through the high stone walls. The beast growled, but its claws did not dig into the sand. Instead, it lowered its head slightly toward Marcus. Gasps spread through the alien spectators like fire across dry grass. Marcus slowly crouched, his eyes never leaving the creature's face. He turned the glowing cube in his hand, letting the blue light dance across its features. The beast leaned closer, nostrils flaring, as if breathing in a scent from another lifetime. "I know you remember," Marcus whispered, his voice soft enough that only the creature might hear. The noblewoman's anger twisted into something else, something colder. Her fingers tightened on the chain until the metal links creaked. But still, the beast did not obey. The guards at the edge of the arena exchanged uneasy glances. This had never happened before. Marcus lifted the cube higher, letting the light touch the beast's eyes. They widened, and its breathing grew faster. A shiver ran down its massive frame. Then, with a sudden movement, the beast stepped forward, pulling against the chain. The noblewoman stumbled slightly as she tried to hold it back. The chain strained, every link groaning under the force. The beast growled not at Marcus, but at the guards. Marcus slowly extended his free hand, palm up. The creature sniffed it, then pressed its head gently against his fingers. The crowd roared in disbelief, their voices shaking the air. The noblewoman's jaw clenched. "Enough," she hissed. "You will attack." But when she gave the command this time, the beast did something no one could have predicted. It dropped to its belly in front of Marcus, ears flat, tail low, not in fear, but in respect. Marcus's eyes narrowed, not out of fear, but from understanding. He turned his gaze up to meet hers. "It knows I am not its enemy," he said, the noblewoman's teeth bared in frustration. "You dare speak as if you understand my bloodlines, creature?" she snapped. Marcus did not answer her challenge directly. Instead, he glanced at the chain binding the beast. It was made of thick black alloy, the kind even alien war machines struggled to break. Yet, as Marcus held the cube closer to the collar around the creature's neck, a faint hum began to fill the air. The metal links shivered, then clicked, one by one. The locks released, falling into the sand with a dull thud. The crowd gasped, their shock turning into wild shouting. The beast lifted its head, shaking off. The heavy collar, it let out a roar so deep the ground seemed to tremble underfoot. The guards surged forward, weapons raised, but the beast moved before they could get close. It planted itself between Marcus and the advancing soldiers, teeth bared, claws digging into the red sand. The noblewoman stepped back, her hand hovering near the hilt of her curved blade. Her eyes were unreadable, now caught between fury and curiosity. Marcus stood straight, the cube still in his hand. "This isn't your pet," he said quietly. It never was. The words carried across the arena like an uninvited truth. The alien spectators were shouting at each other now. Some in rage, some in excitement. The beast snarled at the guards until they froze, uncertain if they could strike without being torn apart. The noblewoman finally spoke, her voice low. "Where did you learn the old word?" Marcus didn't answer right away. Instead, he rested his hand once more on the beast's head. The animal's breathing slowed, its body relaxing slightly under his touch. Then Marcus said, "From the ones you tried to erase from history." Her eyes widened just a fraction. The crowd was now buzzing with whispers. Ancient stories were being remembered, stories of humans and beasts fighting as one long before this empire's rise. The noblewoman stepped closer, her gaze sharp. "You know what you have done?" she asked. Marcus gave a small nod. Yes. The beast shifted its weight, its golden eyes flicking between the two of them. It seemed to be waiting for something, for someone to make the next move. And in that tense, breathless moment, every alien in the arena realized this was no ordinary match. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. The arena had gone strangely quiet. Thousands of alien eyes were fixed on the scene before them. The humans stood beside the freed beast, the glowing cube in his hand, casting a pale blue light over the creature's dark fur. The noblewoman's grip on the broken chain was tight, as if holding it could somehow restore her control. But the truth was in the way the beast's golden eyes ignored her and stayed on Marcus. The creature's head tilted slightly, its nostrils flaring as if memorizing his scent. Then, with a slow and deliberate movement, it lowered itself even further, until its chest touched the sand. The noblewoman's jaw tightened. She had seen this posture before, but never toward anyone outside her bloodline. It was not submission to an enemy, it was respect to a leader. The crowd erupted into a mix of disbelief and excitement. Some shouted in praise of Marcus's courage, while others cursed, calling for the noblewoman to end it. The guards at the edge of the arena shifted uneasily, unsure whether to advance or stand down. The beast let out a low, almost mournful sound, a noise that seemed to carry memories older than the walls around them. Marcus reached down slowly, his fingers brushing over the creature's head. The fur was thick, warm, and alive with a strange, pulsing energy beneath the skin. The noblewoman's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Stand away from my beast, human," she ordered. Her tone was sharp, but there was a tremor in it. Marcus looked up at her, his eyes calm but unyielding. "It's not yours," he said simply. The crowd gasped again, for no one had ever dared to speak to her in such a way. The noblewoman took a step forward, her armored boots sinking into the red sand. "This creature has been in my family for generations," she hissed. "It would die before betraying me." Marcus didn't move. Instead, he knelt beside the beast, holding the cube close to its face. The faint hum it gave off grew louder, vibrating in the air. The beast closed its eyes and inhaled deeply. Then it did something no one expected. Pressed its massive head against Marcus's shoulder. The arena roared with shock. The noblewoman's eyes narrowed to dangerous slits. "That is not possible," she whispered, almost to herself. Marcus spoke in a low voice, one that barely reached her ears. Maybe it remembers when your people and mine fought side by side. Her head tilted slightly, as if a forbidden memory had tried to surface. The beast suddenly stood, towering over Marcus, its muscles rippling under its dark fur. Its head turned slowly toward the guards, and a deep growl rumbled from its chest. The guards froze, weapons halfway raised. They knew that if it lunged, none of them would survive. The noblewoman lifted her hand as if to give a command. But Marcus spoke first. In that strange, ancient word again, the beast's ears perked up, and the growl stopped. It stepped forward, placing itself fully between Marcus and the guards, its tail swaying like a living whip. The noblewoman hesitated. She had seen warriors hesitate before, but never herself, and now, for the first time, she was unsure whether she still controlled the situation. Marcus stood and walked toward her slowly, the beast shadowing his steps. The crowd held its breath, sensing something important was about to happen. When Marcus was only a few feet away, he stopped. "You can order it to attack," he said softly, "but it won't." Her eyes locked on his, cold and unblinking. "Why?" she asked. Marcus held up the cube, letting its glow reflect in her eyes. "Because it knows the truth," he said. She glanced at the beast, who now stood relaxed but alert. Its eyes met hers briefly, but then returned to Marcus. The crowd began chanting something, a new rhythm, not her name. The sound grew louder, echoing around the arena. The noblewoman's gaze flicked toward the stands. She could feel her grip on the crowd's loyalty slipping. Her mind raced. If this human could control her beast, he could control her reputation, her rule, maybe even her life. She took a step back, but her voice was steady again. "You are either a liar or a danger," she said. Marcus tilted his head. "Maybe I'm both." The beast gave a short, sharp bark, as if agreeing with him, and then, without warning, it moved not to attack, but to turn its body fully toward the noblewoman, standing between her and Marcus. The crowd roared again, this time in pure chaos. Some called for Marcus's death, others for his freedom. The noblewoman's eyes darted between them, calculating. She realized then that this was no longer just a test of strength, had become a battle for control over the hearts of everyone watching. And right now, the human was winning. The heat in the arena felt heavier now, as if the twin suns had drawn closer to watch. Marcus stood in the shadow of the great beast, its breathing slow but alert, each inhale and exhale like the rumble of distant thunder. The noblewoman kept her distance, her eyes sharp, her mind clearly turning over thoughts. She dared not voice aloud. Around them, the alien crowd had stopped cheering and started murmuring, the sound like waves crashing far away. It was no longer the noise of entertainment, but the restless stirrings of uncertainty. The noblewoman's voice broke the air, low and measured. "You speak of truths and memories. Speak them now, human." Marcus studied her for a moment, his gaze steady. "You don't want these words in the open," he replied, his tone quiet but cutting. Her eyes narrowed. "Why not?" "Because," Marcus said, "if they hear what I know, your bloodline will never hold the same power again." The murmuring in the crowd grew louder. The noblewoman's hand twitched toward the hilt of her blade, but she stopped herself. Her eyes flicked to the cube in Marcus's hand. "That relic is from the time of the First War," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "There are none left, except this one," Marcus interrupted, "and the memory it carries." The beast's ears twitched at his voice, as if the word memory meant something to it. Marcus took a slow step forward, the sand crunching softly under his boots. "My ancestors fought alongside these creatures long before your people took them," he said. The noblewoman's jaw tightened, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt. "They were wild beasts then, untamed and dangerous," she argued. Marcus shook his head. They were not pets. They were partners. The cube's glow pulsed faintly. Casting strange shadows on the arena walls, the beast lowered its head and let out a deep, almost mournful sound. Several of the older aliens in the crowd gasped quietly, recognizing the sound from old songs and stories. The noblewoman noticed it too, her lips pressing into a thin line. "You speak of things that are forbidden," she said. "Things we are taught never happened." Marcus's voice hardened. "That's because your ancestors erased them." The tension in the arena thickened. The guards gripped their weapons tighter, unsure if they were about to be ordered to silence him or protect him. Marcus knelt beside the beast again, placing the cube against the collar marks still visible on its neck. The faint hum filled the air once more. The beast closed its eyes, leaning into the touch. "Do you know what this is?" Marcus asked, raising the cube slightly so the noblewoman could see. Her voice was low, almost reluctant. "A command key," she said. "Only our bloodline could wield it." Until now, Marcus stood, his eyes locking onto hers. "It responds to blood," he said. "But not just yours. Mine as well." The crowd gasped again, sound rolling through the arena like thunder. The noblewoman took a step forward, her armor gleaming in the sun. "That is impossible," she said. But her voice no longer carried the certainty it once had. Marcus took another step toward her, the beast matching his movements like a silent guardian. "It's not impossible," he said. "It's history. History your family buried." Her lips parted as if to argue, but no words came out. The murmurs from the stands were growing louder, some voices beginning to chant something new, something she couldn't quite make out. Marcus tilted his head slightly, his eyes scanning the crowd. "They're beginning to remember," he said quietly. The noblewoman's eyes flashed with something between fear and fury. She stepped closer, so close that the heat from her armor brushed against him. "You think you can break centuries of control with one beast and a story?" she asked. Marcus's voice was calm but certain. "I don't have to," he said. "The truth will do it for me." The beast let out another low rumble, its golden eyes flicking between them as if sensing the importance of the moment. In the stands, one of the oldest aliens, a hunched figure with silver markings along its skin, stood and shouted in the old tongue. The word echoed across the arena and more voices joined in. The noblewoman's head whipped toward them, her expression tightening. She knew that word had meant unity, a call from the time when her people and humans stood as equals. Marcus didn't look away from her. "You can try to silence me," he said, "but you cannot silence what they've just heard." The beast stepped forward again, placing itself between Marcus and the noblewoman. Its stance was protective, its gaze unblinking, and in that instant the balance of the arena shifted. It was no longer just a contest of dominance, had become the first crack in the walls of an empire's history. The heat of the twin suns pressed down like a weight. The crowd's restless voices rolled through the arena like a rising storm. Marcus stood in the center, the beast at his side, its golden eyes fixed on the noblewoman. She was silent, but her mind was racing. The chants from the stands grew louder, the old word echoing again and again. Her fingers twitched against the hilt of her curved blade, but she didn't draw it. Instead, she gave a short, sharp command in her own tongue. It was the kind of command that had once made the beast tear enemies apart in seconds. The creature's ears flicked at the sound, its body tensing. The crowd gasped. Leaning forward in anticipation, Marcus felt the shift in the beast's muscles, the tremor of conflict running through it. It stood still, caught between two orders. Its head turned toward the noblewoman, then back toward Marcus. The golden eyes blinked once, slow and unsure. The noblewoman's voice came again, louder this time, dripping with authority. "Obey," she ordered. The beast growled low. the sound vibrating through the sand beneath Marcus's boots. Marcus didn't move, didn't speak, he only met the creature's gaze. Then, slowly, he raised the glowing cube, the hum that came. From it was deeper this time, almost like a heartbeat. The beast's head tilted toward the sound. Marcus spoke the ancient word again. But this time, he added another. The second word rolled off his tongue like thunder. The effect was immediate. The beast's growl cut off, replaced by a deep roar that shook the arena. Its claws dug into the sand as it swung its massive head toward the noblewoman's guards. The crowd exploded into chaos. The guards lifted their weapons, unsure if they were about to be attacked or spared. The noblewoman took a step back, her eyes wide for just a heartbeat before she masked it with cold fury. "You dare challenge me in my own arena?" she spat. Marcus lowered the cube slightly, his voice steady. "I'm not challenging you. I'm reminding the beast who it truly serves." The creature stepped forward, placing itself fully between Marcus and the noblewoman. The chain that had once bound it lay twisted in the sand, glinting under the suns. One of the guards made the mistake of moving too close. The beast's head snapped in his direction, teeth bared in a snarl that froze the man in place. The noblewoman lifted her chin. "You think you've won its loyalty?" she asked. Marcus shook his head. "I haven't won it. It's been mine since before you were born." The cube's glow brightened. Pulsing in time with Marcus's words, the noblewoman's eyes darted toward it. "That artifact belongs to my family," she said sharply. "It belongs to those who can wield it," Marcus replied. The beast growled again, low and dangerous. The sound seemed to ripple through the alien spectators, silencing the nearest rows. In the upper seats, the older aliens were leaning forward, whispering urgently to one another. They recognized the second word Marcus had spoken, one of the lost commands from the First War. The noblewoman clearly recognized it too, though she didn't admit it. Her voice was icy when she spoke again. "That word has not been spoken in 1,000 years, she said. Marcus took a slow step toward her. "And yet," he said, "the beast still remembers." The crowd's attention was locked on them. The suns hung heavy overhead, but no one moved. The tension was so thick, it felt like a living thing in the air. The beast let out another roar, this one longer, its breath hot and visible in the shimmering heat. The noblewoman's gaze flicked to the stands. She could see the shift happening. Some of the crowd's loyalty was slipping away from her. Her voice rose, sharp and commanding. "This is my beast, my arena, my victory," she declared. But the beast didn't turn to her. It stayed exactly where it was, beside Marcus. The cube's light dimmed slightly as Marcus lowered his hand. The roar of the crowd shifted. No longer a single voice, but 100 different shouts. Some demanded the human's execution, others called for his freedom. Marcus didn't look at them. His eyes stayed on the noblewoman. "You can give all the commands you want," he said quietly, "but only the truth will be obeyed." The beast huffed, a sound that felt almost like agreement. The noblewoman's jaw clenched, her pride wounded but her mind calculating. She knew she had lost control of the beast, but she was already thinking of the next move. Because if she couldn't win through fear, she might have to win through something else entirely. The arena felt smaller now. Though thousands still watched from the stands, the noise of the crowd had softened into a tense hum, as if the whole city held its breath. Marcus stood steady, the beast beside him like a living wall of muscle and loyalty. The noblewoman walked forward slowly, her black armor glinting in the twin suns. Her every step was measured, her eyes locked on his. "You think control of one beast makes you my equal?" she asked, her voice low but carrying across the sand. Marcus didn't flinch. "No," he said, "I think it makes you afraid." A flicker of something passed through her eyes, pride, anger, and maybe even the truth. She stopped just a few feet away, close enough that Marcus could see the faint scars along her jawline. The beast's growl was soft but constant, its golden eyes tracking her every move. The noblewoman tilted her head slightly, studying him. "You could have killed me already," she said. "So why haven't you?" Marcus's reply was calm. "Because I'm not here to kill you," the crowd murmured. Uncertain what game was being played, her lips curved into the smallest of smiles. But it wasn't warm. "You're here to challenge me," she said, "to take something from me. I'm here to remind you of something you've forgotten." Marcus answered. Her eyes narrowed. "And what would that be?" "That once, long ago," Marcus said, "humans and your kind stood side by side. Not across an arena." The beast's ears flicked at his words, as if they carried a memory only it could understand. The noblewoman let the silence stretch. Between them, the wind carried the faint smell of the red sand and the heat of the suns. Then she spoke again, her voice sharpening. "Words are easy, human. But strength decides truth here." Marcus tilted his head. "So you want to fight?" Her smirk widened. A duel of wills, the crowd reacted instantly, roaring with approval. This was the kind of spectacle they had come for. Two figures locked in a battle for dominance, but Marcus didn't move. Instead, he rested his hand on the beast's head. "If I win," he said, "the truth comes out. No more lies, and if you lose?" She asked, her voice like steel. "Then I die here." Marcus replied without hesitation. The crowd roared again, sensing blood in the air. The noblewoman's smirk faded, replaced by a serious expression. She stepped back, drawing the curved blade from her hip. The metal caught the sunlight, throwing bright flashes across the arena. Marcus didn't draw a weapon. He had none. Instead, he raised the glowing cube in one hand. The beast growled louder now. Sensing the shift in energy, the noblewoman circled him slowly, her eyes searching for a weakness. The crowd's noise grew louder with every step she took. Marcus turned to face her each time, never letting her get behind him. Their eyes stayed locked, neither willing to look away first. "You can't win," she said softly, almost kindly. Marcus's voice was firm. "I already have." The beast suddenly let out a deafening roar. The sound shook the sand, sending a ripple through the crowd. The noblewoman stopped mid-step, her blade still raised. Her gaze flicked to the beast, then back to Marcus. For the first time, there was hesitation in her stance. Marcus spoke a word, one of the ancient ones, and the beast stepped forward. Its massive form loomed between them, its shadow falling over her. The noblewoman's grip on her sword tightened, but she didn't swing. She knew the beast could end her before the blade even reached its mark. The crowd sensed it too, their cheers dying into uneasy silence. Marcus lowered the cube slightly. "You don't need to fight me," he said. Her eyes searched his face, looking for a trick. "And why not?" she asked. "Because this isn't about strength anymore," Marcus said. "It's about choice." The beast rumbled low, the sound vibrating in the air like a drumbeat. The noblewoman took a slow breath, then she sheathed her sword, the metal sliding into its scabbard with a sharp click. Gasps rose from the crowd, some in shock, others in outrage. Marcus didn't move, but the corner of his mouth lifted. "You've already made your choice," he said quietly. Her expression was unreadable, but her eyes burned with something fierce and dangerous. "This duel isn't over," she said. "It's only begun." The beast stepped back, still watching her closely. The crowd erupted again, the noise filling the arena like a storm. Marcus knew then that the real battle was no longer about the beast at all. It was about the future that would come next. The noise in the arena was like rolling thunder. The crowd's voices rose and fell. A wild mix of cheers, shouts, and whispers. Marcus stood in the center, the beast at his side, breathing slow and steady like a mountain that had learned to move. The noblewoman faced him, her black armor gleaming under the twin suns, her eyes sharp and unreadable for a long moment. Neither of them spoke. The crowd waited, every gaze fixed on what would happen next. Then the noblewoman began walking toward him, her boots pressing into the red sand with steady steps. The beast growled softly, lowering its head, ready to defend. Marcus didn't move. His eyes locked on hers when she stopped just a step away. Her shadow fell across him. The crowd went silent again, the air thick with anticipation. "You passed the trial," she said suddenly, her voice calm but carrying a strange weight. Marcus frowned slightly. Trial. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Only one who can master the beast can stand at my side." The words hit him like a blow, not because of their sound, but because of what they meant. The crowd erupted again, now shouting not in anger, but in astonishment. Marcus shook his head slowly. "This was never about killing me." "No," she said. "It was about finding the one worthy of command, the one worthy of alliance." The beast's golden eyes flicked between them, as if understanding the meaning of her words. Marcus glanced at the cube, still glowing faintly in his hand. "You used this whole thing as a test," he said. Her smile deepened, "and you passed." The crowd's noise swelled, but it no longer felt hostile. Some were chanting his name now, voices rising in unison. Marcus's mind raced. He had come into this arena a prisoner, and now the people were shouting for him. The noblewoman stepped back slightly and extended her hand toward him. The gesture was not one of surrender, but of partnership. The suns caught on the rings of silver along her gauntlet, making them shine. Marcus hesitated, glancing at the crowd, then at the beast. The creature huffed softly, almost like encouragement. Slowly, he reached out and took her hand. A ripple of sound passed through the stands, growing into a roar of approval. The noblewoman's voice rose above it all. "From this day forward, the human stands with me," she declared. The beast lifted its head and roared, the sound echoing across the city. Marcus felt the weight of 1,000 eyes on him, but also something else, something heavier. The understanding that this alliance was more than survival. It was the start of something that could change the balance of power across the empire. The noblewoman leaned closer, her voice low so only he could. "Here, you are not my prisoner anymore. You are my equal." Marcus met her gaze, searching for any hint of deceit. But he saw only determination. The crowd's chant shifted again. Now blending both their names together, he realized the people had already begun to see them, not as enemies, but as a force united. The beast stepped forward and stood between them. Its head high, the cube in Marcus's hand dimmed until it went completely dark. He looked at it, then at the noblewoman. "It doesn't need this anymore," he said, tossing it into the sand. The crowd gasped as it landed. The beast ignored it, pressing its massive head against Marcus's shoulder. The noblewoman's smile widened slightly. "You've done what no one else could," she said. "Even I never made it bow without thee." Key, the weight of her words sank in. Marcus realized the beast's loyalty was no longer bound by bloodlines or artifacts. It had chosen him. The noblewoman turned toward the stands, raising their joined hands high. The roar that followed shook the very walls. Marcus knew there would still be battles ahead. There would be enemies who saw this alliance as a threat. But in that moment, with the beast beside him and the noblewoman at his side, he understood that fear was no longer his weapon. Respect was, and in the eyes of the crowd, in the echo of their chants, he was no longer just a human in an alien arena. He was something far greater.